Coming up on the Mindful Midlife Crisis.
Man, I wish I could accurately do justice to what it feels like, but it really feels like imminent death. If I were to tell you 10 seconds from now you're going to die and you knew the threat was credible, how would you feel? That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like, man. It is so fucking brutal. It's fear, and your body is revolting against you. It's awful. Withdrawal is not cool.
Welcome to the Mindful Midlife Crisis, a podcast for people navigating the complexities and possibilities of life's second half. Join your hosts, Billy and Brian, a couple of average dudes who will serve as your armchair life coaches as we share our life experiences, both the good and the bad, in an effort to help us all better understand how we can enjoy and make the most of the life we have left to live in a more meaningful way. Take a deep breath, embrace the present, and journey with us through the Mindful Midlife Crisis.
How did I get here? I guess to me, life was always about rock and roll excess, man. That was it. I was always looking for I thought that was a vehicle to being in the music business. You know what I mean? I thought it would the party was much more important than the art for a long time.
What time did you or how old were you when you started playing?
It was college. I mean, I've been a musician my whole life, but I started out playing saxophone and a little bit of piano. And then it was my freshman year in college where I started playing bass. And that was my buddy who I was in a band with owned a bar. So we would stay there when we rehearsed. We'd rehearse all day and stay there after bar close, and then we'd rehearse and drink all night. And, eventually that it does become a physical thing your body needs. You know what I mean? If you're drinking often enough. So that for me, it was never in my head. I've always been relatively sorted out in my head, but as far as the addiction issues I had it was all physical. Because I remember, if you've never woken up the morning after drinking a 175 of vodka, I wouldn't recommend it. Because all you want to do is either die or get more of what you had so you don't feel so bad. So that's really what did it for me. So
did you find that that you would go down that cycle of well, I need to get I want to get rid of this feeling, and the only way to get rid of this feeling is if I drink more?
Oh God, yes. Oh yeah. I used to wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning, and by 7 I would have 4 or 5 highballs of vodka, just straight, just to get into the day. And that was on weekends. If it was weekdays, it was anywhere between 10 and 15 milligrams of Xanax. So,
okay, so we're gonna come back to that just a little bit.
Sometimes both.
So you referenced leaving Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Right, which I think is also another reason why we could dub this the 90s episode.
Yeah, of course.
So how close could you relate to that?
I never wanted to drink myself to death, but like I said, for me, it was more of a cycle thing. Once you're in, you just feel so bad. Your body gets so depleted of certain essential minerals and stuff like that, that your body, it almost atrophies, it's hard to do anything. Your digestion's not functioning right. You're, forget about actually working out or making your body stronger, because you just don't have an opportunity because you're always messed up. And B, the motivation's just not there because of the substances. So it's, I never was mired in a really dark place mentally. You know what I mean? For me, it was more just to get to a place where I could function normally without feeling so. I mean, you've been hungover, right? I mean, badly hungover.
Very much so, yes.
Like I said, try that. If you really want to do something for yourself, try it with a 175 one time. I finished those in a day, and it is the next day is like I remember you wake up, but you know how you don't actually open your eyes yet? You just sit there for a minute when you come out of sleep and you realize, okay, I'm waking up. And then you'd get that feeling like, oh my God, I don't want to wake up because I am just going to feel so awful. So you either try going back to bed, or if you have to get up, then you go right to drinking, because it was just that feeling your body gets. It's so awful, man. Oh, it's awful.
So you talked about like you would you would take your highball shots. How many days a week were you doing that? And then how
every day.
For how many months or years?
Every day for probably 10 years.
Holy shit. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. When I finally went to the hospital, I had a clinical psychologist or psychiatrist. The person, I don't know what her title was, but she was old. She was probably pushing 60. So she had seen a lot, right? And she sits down with me, and I said, "Hey, I've had enough of this. I want to be done. How do we do it?" And she goes, "Well, what are you doing?" And I told her, and as soon as I told her, she goes, "Oh my God, you're lucky you're not dead." I shocked her, and she had seen a lot.
So, we're going to get to the Xanax part, because you've told me that story before, but I want to talk about it a little bit. What was your rock bottom, or like what was the catalyst first going into the hospital and be like, all right, I'm done?
The physical withdrawals. That is brutal. It's fucking brutal, man. If you know what an anxiety attack feels like, that's easy compared to withdrawals. Withdrawals are nasty, and I had them. I mean, if I were to stop drinking, I would immediately go into that panic mode, and it would feel like you're gonna die within a few seconds. Is what it feels like. And then you start breathing wrong, and your body starts doing things, and you get that, I got to get out of here. And you just, you walk, you get out of wherever you are, you do whatever you can to cope with it. But it's physical, and it's disturbing. I mean,
and that's what anxiety attacks felt like for me for me, it was my head that was doing that. And for you, it was withdrawal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So would you get the physical shakes? Like, would you get shakes? Or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Shakes and that's when I started taking the Xanax, because once you drink so much, when you're drinking that much, you can't possibly drink enough to stave off the withdrawals 24 hours a day. So then you switch to the hard drugs, because that does it like a charm. It goes away immediately. But then, you start the cycle over again. So for me, I never drank at work. I never did during the day. But the Xanax, when I started having physical withdrawals, that's when I sought out something to get rid of it. So then I start taking Xanax, and I'm like, hey, this works great. I can get through the day. I'm cruising. I'm in a good mood. My body doesn't feel the withdrawals. Because I had them a couple times during meetings, even.
Withdrawals?
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah. Towards the end of the day, you get to 2-3 o'clock, and you haven't had a drink in 6 or 8 hours. Well, it's a little more than that, because figure I'd probably been up till midnight or 1 the night before drinking. So you'd hit that 12-hour mark, and they'd start creeping in.
So what did that look like then when you're at work? Because I'm going to guess you can't run out of a room, because you're the big wig.
Oh, I've had to during meetings and stuff. I just, excuse me, I got to go to the bathroom, and you just go out. You just go, or I'm not feeling well, I need to leave. And you head to the bathroom and shake it off, and then you go back into the meeting. Yeah, it was awful. But as soon as you start taking Xanax, it's fine. But just like the alcohol, that starts to lose effectiveness. So you start on a couple milligrams of Xanax. Pretty soon, you're in the morning, you take 10, and then you hit a bump, maybe midday, another 5, and then you get home a few hours later and you hit the vodka again.
Oh my God.
So it was, I'm really lucky I'm not dead. I am really lucky. I have my wife to thank for that. I am not dead because of my wife.
So how did you land on Xanax? Like, how did...
has the I did some studying how to stave off withdrawal, and Xanax acts very similarly in your brain to alcohol. So you're essentially fooling your brain that you're taking alcohol. Yeah.
If you guys don't know Brian, that is the most Brian answer of all time because he researched it. Like, because you love science.
It's true. It's true. So I'm like, what's going to do this? I can't keep living like this. What do I do? And at the time, I didn't think, I'll just stop drinking. Or maybe I thought, I'll stop drinking and I'll just take this and slowly wean myself off, which did not happen. So
it just increased dosage over and over and over again.
So like you, it got to a Sunday night in 2012. Actually, it was December 5th, 2012.
I remember, because I kind of remember we were on the same trajectory.
Yeah, around the same time.
Yeah.
You and I had some, exactly. And it was a Sunday night. I was supposed to leave for Florida the following day for something work-related. And I called up my dad and I said, Dad, I can't do this anymore. I gotta go into the hospital. And he drove right there. And the next morning we went right to the hospital and he took me in. And they spent about 7 or 8 days weaning me off all the garbage.
So what was that process like?
Check into the hospital, sit in bed. They interview you. They ask what's going on. And then they start the tapering. So obviously they don't give you alcohol, but they gave me some drugs every few hours, more frequently at first, of course. But I will say they did an amazing job of their dosages, or however they arrived at what to give me. The actual detox process was not that bad. It was boring because I was sitting in a bed playing video games for a week, which sounds pretty great, but I don't remember struggling. You know what I mean? Like the physical, and as soon as I felt good and left the hospital, I'm like, oh my God, I'm never doing that again. Never.
And they, like, when you say wean off, like they were still pumping you full of Xanax.
Yes. Yeah, it was Valium, I think they were giving me.
Okay.
And they started out pretty high, a decently high dosage, and then of course they space it out. They know, your body weight and how it's reacting and all that. So, you're hooked up to all the machines and shit. And once they got me off all of that, it was great. There were a few days that were a little tough, where you still feel some of the withdrawal symptoms, but it's not. It never got to the level of the panic withdrawal. That's man. I wish I could accurately do justice to what it feels like, but it really feels like imminent death. Like if I were to tell you 10 seconds from now you're going to die, and you knew the threat was credible, how would you feel? That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like, man. It is so fucking brutal. It's fear, and your body is revolting against you. It's awful. Withdrawal is not cool. And I can see why people, if you get into delirium tremens and stuff like that from alcohol, it's nasty. It's nasty, man.
So, and just to be clear, you didn't go to rehab. You just went to the hospital.
I went to the hospital. I went to detox. So they detoxed me, and then we looked at a few places. My wife had it all lined up. She's like, "You're going here," and I'm like, "Well, just give me a chance. Give me a shot at it." And I never look back.
So if you don't mind, how did that conversation go about I'm going to the hospital with your wife?
It went fine. It went fine. She was very supportive. She knew. I mean, when I came clean to her and said, "Hey, this is what I've been doing," she's like, "Yeah, you better get in there. That's fine."
And did she know, or were you hiding it well to the point? Or
yeah, she had no idea about the drugs. I mean, she knew I was drinking, but you know what I used to do? This is an interesting look at what addiction is. So, I had water bottles. Typically, they would be, like Perrier, something like that. And what I would do is, and this was about every day or every other day, I would have to do this. So I'd get done with work at anywhere between 3 and 5 o'clock, and I would cruise immediately to the liquor store on the way home. I would hit the liquor store. I would usually buy a 175 and then maybe a couple smaller bottles too for stashing. And then I'd drive to a park usually one on the way home, because where I lived at the time, it was really laid out. There's a liquor store, there's a park, there was home. So I would go pick up the liquor. I would get the bottles. I'd either save them or go to the gas station and grab a couple and just dump them out. And then you fill up the water bottles with vodka.
Oh my God.
So I would have the water bottles around my car, but I would stash them so that nobody else drank them, but the one by the driver's seat. So I'd be able to get done with work and hit my water bottle right on the way home. I'd be drinking straight vodka, and usually I'd finish about, 12 to 16 ounces just on the way home. And then I'd have, and that would get me just feeling right. That would just get me straight. I wasn't even really intoxicated at the time.
Right.
You know what I mean? I could still function like nobody wouldn't even know I was drinking.
So that was going to be my next question is, like, did you drink a 175? Were you drunk? Like, did you feel drunk? Did you did you feel the buzz?
Oh, sure. Yeah, you feel the buzz, but you're not. You can handle a lot when you're drinking that much. You know what I mean? It never got to the point where I'd throw up or anything. That never happened. I mean, occasionally, I guess, maybe on exceptionally heavy nights, but it would take a lot. My tolerance was such that I could, if I got that drunk, I would be dead. If I got vomiting drunk at that point, I would be dead, I'm sure. But, yeah, it never, yes, you feel it, but you just feel normal for a minute. You know what I mean? Like, the way up is you feel normal. As soon as the alcohol starts coming out of your system is when you start to have issues. So it wasn't, it was never like getting wasted. You know what I mean? You wouldn't get wasted, but you'd just have to have it in order to function right. It's weird, man. I know it sounds crazy, but you require it.
Right.
Almost like, are you a coffee drinker at all or anything? You don't like coffee. You're not at all.
I'm not, but so I used to take caffeine pills because I liked having that bump in the morning.
Exactly.
Right. But then when I weaned myself off, and I actually didn't, when I weaned myself off those caffeine pills, and for like 2-3 days, I had like terrible withdrawal headaches.
Oh yeah.
So, but that's caffeine, and I can't even imagine.
It's a lot more intense when you're talking alcohol. Yeah, you can. Your body physically needs it, so it starts revolting against you until you give it more. When you're drinking that much, I mean, it's awful being tethered to something like that too. Out of the whole thing, the worst part about it is the dependence, okay, and how it controls your life. When you look at what I was doing. My first thought when I'd leave work would have to be alcohol. When I got home, okay, how am I going to hide this? How am I going to stash it? Because I, of course, had a few around the house, too, where I'd stick them up in the rafters, and there'd be a 175 there, so I wouldn't have to keep going upstairs, so I didn't tip off my wife. So I'd sit down in the studio, and I'd just get hammered. But to my wife, I had one drink.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? I'd go upstairs, and I'd pour one. I'd be like, yeah, I'm just having a couple fingers. And then I'd go downstairs and have 4 to 8 more.
Oh my God! So would you ever have blackouts?
Oh yeah, sure.
So that was a thing with me in my 20s. In my 20s, I was blackout drunk every Friday, Saturday night.
Oh wow!
So and I have very few recollections of weekends from my 20s, and so my joke is we have friends in the band Dead Walleye.
Oh yeah,
just out of Fargo. Love you guys, but I was a big groupie with them. I liked going to all of their shows wherever they played. But my joke was I never remembered a single third set from a Dead Walleye show.
Yeah.
because I was out of my. I always started every night with a redheaded slut shot. That's how I would start, and then I would always tip the waitress, or excuse me, I would tip the bartender. I would buy a drink, or I'd buy 2, and I would give them a 20, and I would say, "That's your tip for the night." And I'm not going to tip you. I'm not going to keep tipping you, but here's your tip for the night. When you see me, no one else exists. You have 2 of those ready to go, and I'll have exact change ready. And so then we would just do the quick exchange like that. So no, for the, I have blackout and puking the next day.
See, it's not like that when you don't do it to go out and have fun, but you just have to do it to keep from your body doing something that you know is going to be extremely bad for you. You know what I mean? Like, imagine, I can relate this to your panic attacks. Imagine if you could drink orange juice every time you felt a panic attack coming on, and it would just go away. But every time you needed more orange juice every time you did it. That's what happens. So you associate that alcohol or that drug with the physical, the bad symptoms of withdrawal going away. So it doesn't become something where you're like, okay, I'm going to go out, I'm going to get hammered. It's just like you need it just to act normal and not sit there in a ball on the floor and wonder why your body is killing you. So it's a completely different deal, man. When you're in it, it's tough. It's tough, but I'm here to tell you, if you are experiencing this, if you need the worst thing that ever happened to me, and I'm from Wisconsin originally, right? So
that's part of the problem.
It is because alcohol is ingrained in the culture over there, man.
Brian's office smells like cheese and Miller Lite.
It is socially acceptable to have a Bloody Mary or 2 in the morning in Wisconsin. At church functions, there's booze. You know what I mean?
Well, so I grew up in small town Minnesota.
Yeah.
And we, Sunday brunch was at the bar.
Yeah.
And yes, in big cities. No, we're talking like Sunday brunch was at your local. That was the only restaurant in town, was the bar. So that joke, you're old enough to see over the bar, they'd serve you, is kind of true.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of true in those small towns. It was just, that was second nature to you. Was you had a drink. A friend of mine from Wisconsin went out she was visiting a friend in Washington, and she ordered a Bloody Mary, and they just brought a Bloody Mary.
Oh, without the snit?
Yeah. Without the chaser.
Man.
And so she looked at the waitress, kind of side-eyed her, and the waitress said, "You're not in Wisconsin, honey. You don't get one."
Right. They serve the snit over there because there's more alcohol. But so, okay, here's my Wisconsin story. This, I remember stumbling into Rhodey's bar. So we rehearsed at Archie's bar. That's the one my buddy owned. And Rhodey's was right across the street. And I come in one Sunday morning and I hit it. Oh my God, the night before I had hit it. We had been to several parties. I had been drinking till 5:30 in the morning. It's now, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. I got a couple hours of sleep and I am feeling terrible. And I'm like, I don't know how the hell I'm going to get through practice. And I go over to Rhodey's because Rhodey was open and the bar we rehearsed in was closed on Sundays. So I go over to Rhodey's. And Rhodey was a great guy. He owned the bar and would tend bar on Sunday mornings and sometimes, the weekends and stuff. But he's just a great guy. And I said, Rhodey, I don't know how I'm going to go do this practice, man. He goes, I got just the thing for you, my friend. And he goes, I'm going to make you a roadie. And you'll be good as new as soon as I do. I'm like, all right, man, let's do it. So Rhodey gets a highball glass and a couple of pieces of ice. And he pours in Rumple Mints, Yukon Jack, and Peppermint Schnapps.
Okay.
And or Peppermint 100, I think it was, because it was 100 proof. So yeah, and he I'm sorry, it was Rumple Mints. I don't remember the third ingredient, but it was liquor, just pure liquor, right? And he hands it to me, and he puts a couple of straws in it. He goes, "Drink that, you'll be fine." So sure as hell, I drink it up, and it works because essentially it was just 4 more shots of vodka or 4 more shots of booze. So it worked great. But I remember that was the first time I associated. I'm like, oh, I get it. So if I wake up feeling like shit, I'll just have some more. So then starts the cycle. Then starts the problems. Yeah, I mean, God, there was a point where my heart was would go out of rhythm because I was drinking so much. Yeah, I mean, it had some serious physical consequences. Like I remember one time, especially nicotine, when I had a lot of nicotine and alcohol at the same time, my heart would fall out of rhythm.
Oh my God.
And it would sit there and first it would feel like it was just not beating, but all beating at the same time instead of, how a heart goes one, the two different chambers, right? Ba-bop, ba-bop. Mine didn't do that. Mine just went, it felt like it was just vibrating. And then it would beat at about 200 beats per minute. It would just be,
oh my God.
After it would do that thing. And the warbling, I called it, would last anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes. And then I knew I was snapping out of it when it hit the rhythm again. It would, and it stayed like that for, again, anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes. My heart would be beating like this, and then it would be like, it would be that direct. So your heart would be extremely fast and then just stop and be in normal rhythm again.
Oh man.
And that happened to me about once or twice a week.
Were you just breaking into sweats then?
Yeah. Yeah. The first time it happened, I thought I was having a heart attack. I was with my buddy. We were supposed to go up north, and it happened at a gas station of all places. So I walk into the gas station, my heart starts freaking out. And I was like, Corey, my heart's freaking out. Something's going on right now. And I had to go sit on the curb. And then, it went through thing lasted about 20 minutes. And I'm like, all right, I'm fine. Let's go.
That was happening for 20 minutes?
Yeah. Yeah. And then we rode up north, and I just slept. I mean, I slept for about 2 days after it happened the first time. But then I got used to it, and when it would happen, I knew what was going to happen. So I'm like, no big deal. It would happen at work, and I'd be like, oh, well, I'll just work through it. So, I mean, it really takes a awful toll on your body physically, alcohol does.
Wow. So you and I stopped drinking around the same time.
Yeah.
Around 2012. And then I jumped back on the wagon in 2013 because I thought I could handle it. And then I realized I couldn't. So I guess how have you here just to preface this, I don't drink during the school year. So I don't drink anything for 9.5 months, and then in June, July, August. Now I'm at a point where I'm like, I'm gonna have 2. Like I can't I maybe in the last 8 years when I started doing this, I think I can maybe count on one hand, like on 3 fingers, how many times I've been drunk, or how many times I've had more than 3 even drinks. Usually I have 1, 2 at the most. But during the school year, absolutely nothing. Like I don't do it. And I'll tell you what made me feel the best about it. Shout out to our wonderful friends Pete Bourbon and Matt Hazard. We were doing that benefit show for Pete's niece.
Oh yeah, at Famous Dave's.
Yeah. And so I was over there.
Really?
Yeah, I was over there, and Pete asked me, "Do you want a beer?" And I was like, and I was really nervous. Like I was really nervous because like guys like to have a drink or 4 or that kind of thing. Like they like to socialize and they can do it. And I was like, you know what? No, I'm not drinking anymore. And I'm like, oh, are they gonna judge me for this? And they said, that's really cool. And when they said that, that just all that anxiety about like the not drinking to impress my friends.
Am I going to fit in?
Yes.
Yeah.
That all just went away. So shout out to you guys for, I love you very, very much for being those supportive guys. And I feel like it hasn't really been hard for me to not do it, but I clearly didn't have the same physical addiction to it that you did. So I'm kind of curious, how have you then stayed clean this whole time? Have you stayed sober?
Oh, I've had a couple drinks, and I'm going to tell you it, I think it was about 2 years in, and I'm like, I was out of town by myself, and I'm like, I haven't had a beverage in a long time. So I go and I grab a vodka or whatever it was. I don't even remember what I got. Maybe it was beer. But I had a couple. I woke up in the morning. I felt like asshole, and I said, this is stupid. It reminded me of the way my body used to feel, and I have such an aversion to it now that I no longer even wanna. It doesn't appeal to me. Like, once you start working out and and eating right, and you know what your energy level should be, and you start to, what alcohol does, and drugs for that matter, is separate you from being in touch with your body. It masks things. It doesn't let you know what your body's really doing. And over that course of 2 years, I started to get healthy. I started to eat right. I started to realize what a body should feel like again. And it's amazing, like how now the feeling of doing it is no longer worth it. You know what I mean? Once you're out of that cycle, it's like, I don't even consider it. It's not even a thought for me anymore. You know what I mean? Like, before it was, and being chained to that stuff, you know what I mean? To always have to think about, okay, just in social situations, even like where you can't drink. Okay, I'm at a work function, but it's not a drinking function. Am I going to make it through? Do I drink beforehand? Do I try to sneak out into my car and grab some during to make it through this? You know, all of that stuff happens. And for me, once I was out, I'm like, oh God, I'm never doing that again. I don't want to be chained like that again. So it's really, it was a switch for me. You know, it's not hard.
Thank you for listening to the Mindful Midlife Crisis. If you're enjoying what you've heard so far, please do us a favor and hit the subscribe button. Also, giving our show a quick 5-star review with a few kind words helps us on our quest to reach the top of the podcast charts. Finally, since you can't make a mixtape for your friends and loved ones like you used to do, share this podcast with them instead. We hope our experiences resonate with others and inspire people to live their best lives. Thanks again. And now, let's take a minute to be present with our breath. If you're listening somewhere safe and quiet, close your eyes and slowly inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly exhale for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's do that one more time. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly exhale for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and open your eyes. You feel better? We certainly hope so. And now, back to the show.
Welcome back to the Mindful Midlife Crisis. Brian, you just talked about your story there. Here's my question to you now. Looking at you at age 47, you've kind of got a killer dad bod. And so I'm wondering, what have you done in order to get into what looks like the best shape of your life?
It's definitely the best shape of my life. I think I've lost, since I was at my heaviest, about 65 pounds.
Wow.
But I've packed on a lot more muscle too. So that was all fat, you know what I mean? And I was pushing 260 for a while, and that's a lot. So actually I've lost more than that, but I think I'm around 185 right now, but it varies because I put on muscle and then you take it off, you know, that sort of thing. So, but what have I done? I woke up one morning and I said, I just want to feel better. I want more energy, especially since I have a baby, you know, Ben. That was a little, you know, I'm obviously advanced in age to have a baby. So Ben was, I was 43 when Ben was born. So I said to myself, it's time to start working out because I need the energy. See, people think that when you work out, you get less energy. That's totally not the case. When you work out, at least when I work out, if you do it right and you eat correctly, it feeds the beast. You get more energy. You're able to do more things. So I started getting up. One morning, I just said to myself, I'm getting up tomorrow and I'm doing it. So I found an app that I like, and I use one called Shred. And I just started on their most basic workout and headed into the gym at 4 a.m. and worked out till I had to go to work. And then I just never stopped. And my wife then, about a year and a half after I started doing that, decided she was going to do the same thing. She had finally got her body back after the kids, you know what I mean? Because that does take a entirely huge toll on a woman's body to have children. But when she said, we're done, I want my body back. So she started working out too and eating right, and she became a fitness coach, actually. So with her eating right, I get the benefit of that as well, because she cooks just wonderfully on a normal basis. And I just started working out, and I really enjoyed it. Like I said, it feeds the beast. It gives me more energy to do more stuff.
Were you much of an exerciser before this?
Not at all.
Not at all?
Not even one time. I never went to the gym. No way.
Talk a little bit about what those initial workouts were. Like, what were you doing? Were you doing body weight? Were you doing really lightweight, I imagine? Or
Exactly, yeah. It's just body weight stuff and a lot of stretching at first, because when your body's not used to working out, you do have to ramp up. You can't just go right into benching 300 pounds or whatever, you know what I mean? You have to work up to that so it's good for you and not bad for you. For me, it was never the motivation. I never lacked the motivation to work out. For me, it was more, I never knew what to do to get my body into good shape. So that's when I picked up the app Shred, and I'm like, if I only knew what exercises to do, I would be happy to do them. And of course, you know, you can go down the personal training route, and I did that for a little while, but it's super expensive. You can pay hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, you know, every month for personal training. So
I'm a certified personal trainer, so of course I would much rather you pay me your hundreds and thousands of dollars than use an app that would also get you into shape. Fuck, I need to come up with an app.
Yeah, exactly. You almost do these days, because it's like, unless you have a niche that you're specializing in, you know, if you're doing a fight workout or whatever it may be.
We're actually hoping to have Maurice Buchanan and Delico James on next week. That's our hope, is that they're able to join us. For sure, they'll be on an episode at another time.
Tell us a little bit about them.
Yeah, so Mo played college football for the University of Minnesota, and Delico trains boxers. And when they post stuff on Instagram, watching what Delico does with the boxers, it's like, oh my God, like that was unbelievable what he puts them through. And he's not putting them through anything crazy. It's just, boxing is such an insane workout.
I've been tossing around that idea. Maybe I should talk to those guys next week too, because I have been thinking I wanted a more dynamic workout, because as you mentioned, I'm in pretty good shape right now. I think I want to take it to the next level and maybe do a fight, like a kickboxing workout or a boxing workout.
They have a full boxing ring in their gym.
Oh, I gotta go. I gotta talk to these guys next week.
It's if you guys want to check them out, you can check out at Work Gym, and it's spelled WURKGYM, Work Gym. And it's Delico James and Maurice Buchanan. They're both great dudes. I really hope that we can talk to them next week, or if not next week, in the very, very near future, because these are fitness pros. These guys know what they're talking about. Yeah, I have my personal training certification, but kind of like when I was just getting into mindfulness, where I was dipping my toe, again, not an expert in any way. No, that's not a great way to sell myself as a personal trainer. I understand that, but
you know more than a beginner. You would be a good intermediate choice for somebody who's starting out.
And that's kind of where I would like to be. I work great with people who either have. Actually, if you really haven't worked out a lot, I actually think you need a more experienced person. If you have worked out some, you're kind of in what we would call the contemplation stage, where or the action stage, where you're ready to get into it, and you've been doing a little bit here and there, and maybe you just don't know the finer points of it all. That's where I could help you out, that sort of thing. But anyway, I interrupted you, so I'm curious if you talk a little bit more about diet, because one thing that that I hear from people is they want to work out, but what they don't realize in order to lose weight, but what they don't realize is that your diet plays far bigger role in your weight loss and your weight maintenance. And I hate the word diet, and I'm not talking about diet in terms of cutting calories. I'm talking about just what you eat throughout a day. So I'm curious, like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? So what came first, the egg or the dumbbell?
I am a horrible example, and I don't follow the traditional, exactly what you said. Diet has more of an effect than working out. My genetics, I'm very fortunate. Thank you, Mom and Dad. I don't have that problem. I eat like crap. I still eat like crap, but I eat pretty good because my wife cooks every night, and she's usually cooking something that's good for me.
But I'm looking over at your desk over there, and you've got 3 apples.
Yeah, I do eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. That's just natural, but I'll also sit down and pile through a bag of candy in the evening. You know what I mean? I'll still do that. But that for me is why I work out, so I can do that.
I like that. I think people deprive themselves too often of what's good. Like, I'm very much a believer in, if I go out to eat, you're goddamn right I'm getting the dessert.
Oh, yeah, you can do it. Just don't make a habit of the things that are bad for you. That's the trick right there.
There is no candy and there are no potato chips in my place, because I know if there are chips and potato chips, or excuse me, chips and candy in my place, I'll eat them and I won't eat the food that I make in my fridge. And then I end up throwing out my fruit. I love fruit. I love raspberries. Yeah. I love grapes. I love apples. I love bananas. But if I have that other shit in my cabinets, why would I have an apple when I could eat a Snicker bar?
So for the listeners, a good place to start, and what I did when I decided I was going to start eating a little better at least, is go for the stuff you like. Pick pineapple is a good example for me. I freaking love pineapple. And if there's pineapple around, I'll let it get just perfectly ripe, and then it's like eating candy. So you can eat better for yourself, rather than sitting there while you're watching your Law and Order and piling through some Swedish fish. Let's get a little pineapple that's really ripe, because it scratches the itch. Or like what my wife does, she's a much better example than me. Rather than having that bowl of ice cream after dinner, she will have Greek yogurt with berries and honey in it. Scratches the itch, but way better for you than the Swedish fish.
I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but Lean is looking like a stone cold fox lately.
Oh, yeah.
She looks amazing.
No doubt. She's built.
It's really impressive. And she kind of has some motivation too, because both of her parents, they're into fitness as well. Like,
her mom's a yogi. Yeah, a very famous yogi actually. Yeah, they run a yoga teacher training down in Costa Rica, sometimes Spain, sometimes they're always all over the world doing these retreats. So they travel around and train yoga teachers. So Marianne just doesn't teach people yoga. She teaches people to teach yoga. She can do the certification. She has several different programs that are certified through Yoga Alliance and or whoever, I think it's Yoga Alliance. We'll have her on one day too to talk about it, but she can, she teaches teachers. So yes, they are involved in fitness as well.
Do you do yoga, or is that not your thing, or what
No.
what have you dabbled in, or what's your go-to?
I think the app's my go-to. Shred is my go-to. It just because it offers a lot of variety for me. It pretty much has workouts for anything you have on hand. So you can say, I'm in a gym. I'm at home with weights. I'm at home with a band. I have a Bosu ball, but nothing else. You can incorporate that into the configuration of the program, and then it designs the workout right around that. Not to mention, it also has a lot of parameters for, do you want a quick workout? Do you want a 40-minute workout? Do you want an hour workout? Do you want a 2-hour workout? And then there's a lot of options. So for me, that's what really drew me to that app, is the amount of options, because I don't always have the luxury of being at the gym if I have time to work out. I've got, if I'm at home, I can pop open the app and say, all right, I'm at home, done.
Do you prefer the gym or do you prefer working out at home?
You always get a better workout in the gym, no matter what. Even if it's the same body weight workout in the gym versus at home, I always feel a little constrained when I'm in a room and not in a gym.
I really believe that I have seasonal affect disorder.
Oh, most people do.
Amongst all the other neurotic mental things that are in my way. But particularly in Minnesota, like I don't feel like I was born in the right state because I have black hair and I have olive skin, and like, what am I doing in this frozen tundra? and so I really feel the effects in the winter, and when it gets dark outside so early, I just feel like my whole body shut down, like the melatonin kicks in and just shuts my body down early, and I don't want to drive to the gym. And so now, begrudgingly, I am doing workouts at home. Even though the gyms now are open, I hate working out at home, but I have found a program now that I can commit to. I think that's kind of the hard part too, is finding a program that you'll commit to doing.
That's it. Exactly. Yeah. And that's what Shred did for me. It was everything I was looking for. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I would do it if I knew what to do. Well, that just guides me through with whatever I have. So that's a great point. You just have to figure out what you're drawn to or what works for you.
I think that's where a personal trainer can come in handy, because a personal trainer can listen to what it is that you like to do, and then tailor it based on whatever the physical assessment is that they do of your movements. Because when you do an assessment as a personal trainer, when you do an assessment of somebody, you recognize that you've got a forward lean. Here are the stretches that you need to do in order to do that. Your feet turn out. So here's what you need to do in order to remedy that, because if you don't do something about that and you go in and you just are doing whatever workout willy-nilly, you're actually going to find yourself in a lot more pain somewhere down the road. So it's good to kind of have that, maybe even just doing 1, 2, 3, 4 workouts with a personal trainer, because to be honest, after 4 sessions with me, I don't want to see you again. If I'm a good personal trainer, I believe that if I have worked with you for 1 to no more than 3 months, then you should be able to do that on your own. Like, I should have given you enough skill set and I should have prepared your body enough to be able to go and do the exercises on your own. That's my 2 cents. Now, I'm sure that there are personal trainers out there like, dude, shut the fuck up.
I need that money, man.
And I'm sorry, but that's just my 2 cents. So I feel like, given the national obesity numbers that we're seeing, there are plenty of people out there who would benefit from investing in their health by just spending a little bit of time with a personal trainer and then getting the basics down and then moving on their own. So it sounds to me, Brian, that you have figured out what works best for you.
Absolutely. And I think that's the key for anybody listening to this. You have to, if you have the motivation, but maybe you don't know what to do, seek that out. Find that personal trainer that's going to help you, that's going to guide you, or find that app, in my case, that's going to guide you. And whatever that barrier is that's preventing you from doing it, find it and get it out of the way.
So let's tie this all back to what we discussed at the beginning of the episode. How has that level of motivation helped you avoid any, like temptation to use booze or pills again?
Well, once you know what feeling good feels like, it's kind of hard to go back to feeling poorly. For me personally, it was just mostly a physical thing. My body actually needed it to function. Now I've turned that from something bad and destructive, alcohol and pills, to something good for me, which is exercise. So I think it's retraining your brain. It really is. Because I used to have an association with alcohol, like, oh, that's how you feel good. You take that to feel like a normal person. And once I got my brain turned around, I was like, oh yeah, that's not the way you do it. This is the way you do it, through healthy living. So,
And it's interesting then to kind of compare that to just like gym rats and gym junkies. That's their drug, but that's a healthier alternative than, say, booze or pills.
So I guess you could say, choose your drugs wisely. That's when you're looking at all the things you can do for yourself that make you feel good, pick the ones that are not destructive. How about?
That sounds like sage advice for us to wrap up this show with. So, Brian, thank you so much for sharing your story, man. We really appreciate hearing that side of you.
Quite welcome. I hope it helps somebody.
And if it has helped somebody, let us know. Send us an email. Send us a message on Instagram at mindful_midlife_crisis. Our email is mindfulmidlifecrisis@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. We'd love to know what you want us to talk about as you navigate the complexities and possibilities of life's second half. For Brian, this is Billy. Thank you for listening to the Mindful Midlife Crisis. May you feel happy, healthy, and loved. Take care, friends. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the Mindful Midlife Crisis podcast. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If this episode resonates with you, please share it with your family and friends. We will do our best to put out new content every Wednesday to get you over the midweek hump. If you want episodes to be downloaded automatically to your phone each week, all you need to do is hit the checkmark, subscribe, like, or follow button, depending on what podcast format you're using. While you're at it, feel free to leave our show a quick 5-star review with a few kind words so more people like you can easily find our show. If you're really enjoying the show and you want to help us out, feel free to make a donation to www.buymeacoffee.com/MMC podcast. That's www.buymeacoffee.com/MMC podcast. You can also access the link in our show notes. We use the money from these donations to pay whatever expenses we incur from producing the show, but ultimately, we record this show for you. So if you keep listening, we'll keep recording and releasing new episodes each week regardless. If you'd like to contact us, or if you have suggestions about what you'd like us to discuss on future episodes, feel free to email us at mindfulmidlifecrisis@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at mindful_midlife_crisis. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to the articles and resources we reference throughout the show. Thanks again for listening. May you feel happy, healthy, and loved.